Jeff Lyons. We welcome Jeff today. What is going on, Jeff? How are you?
How you doing, Lorne?
I'm doing fantastic. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
All right, Jeff, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where is your marketplace, and kind of a quick snapshot of where you are in your business today?
Okay. My marketplace is the Northwest Indiana market. We're about an hour outside of Chicago. I cover. There's 6 counties total that we cover. We mostly focus on the top 3 counties: Lake, Porter County, where we're located, and then LaPorte County. I've been in the business for about 5 years. Married. I have 3 beautiful children, and real estate's my full-time gig. It's been my full-time gig since August of 2016.
Kids, boys, girls?
We have Alex, who is turning 7 in 2 weeks, Annie, who is turning 4 in February, and Nora, who turns 1 2 days before Christmas.
Our lives are parallel, my friend. I've got
Oh, yeah?
I've got 3 girls, but mine are age 7, 5, and 2, so very close.
Okay. Very busy.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very busy.
Full-time real estate and full-time family. It's kind of a rub. How do you manage that?
I have a lot of help from my beautiful wife, Shannon. She is a godsend. She keeps me very grounded and lets me know when I'm getting a little bit out of whack, which happens from time to time. So
It happens to us
just
all.
it's definitely a balancing act. It's when I went full time in 2016, I went full time middle of August, and I didn't take a day off until Thanksgiving. And my wife was like, "Are you gonna take a day off?" And I was like, I probably should. And it's been a balancing act. I now am very intentional about my time off. I guarantee at least 1 weekend day off a week, and then I try and work like kind of a half day on Sunday. Just with Alex, my oldest son, being in school, that time is just so important. I mean, he's already 7, and you know how quick that time goes.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So why don't you walk us back, even before you were in real estate? Just give us a little glimpse into your background, what you were doing leading up to real estate, and what got you into it.
Okay. I'm originally, and my wife as well, we're originally from the Metro Detroit area. And we got together in 2007, and I started working in a casino out there in Detroit. And I started working part-time, 4 days a week, and then it was 3 days a week, and then it was 2 days a week. And I was like, I'm going to get fired soon. So we just happened to, for her birthday, we took a trip to Chicago. And on the way to Chicago, there were all these signs about a new casino opening. So we get back home. I hop on the internet and I reach out to the manager of that casino and say, listen, I have this experience. I would love to be in the poker room. Give me a job. A month later, we moved out there, and I took a big risk leaving a somewhat decent job in Detroit for a part-time job in Hammond, Indiana, which is about 45 minutes northwest of where I'm at in Valparaiso. I worked there for 8 years, from 2008 to 2016. And it was, so I was a poker dealer. It was a great job for real estate. My skin is thicker than anyone's skin could ever be. I was telling a friend the other day, I was like, there's nothing you can tell me that's going to move the needle. Like, nothing you can say is going to affect me one way or the other. Because I've been called everything more times than you could ever stand to call me. So don't try and hurt my feelings with words, because it's just not going to happen. So that's a good thing. Having a thick skin in this business is important, but I'm very personally involved in my deals. So you can have a thick skin and still care about people. And I think that's a balance that a lot of people need to learn in this business.
Yeah, well said.
So, I dealt poker for around 7 years. Great job. The problem was I was working nights, and we had 2 small kids, and it's a young man's game. It's just a tough life to live. I got my license in 2013, and I was doing both. So I would work from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. I'm sorry, 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. I'd come home. I'd get home around 8. I'd sleep until around noon. I'd get up. I'd go show homes all day, come home, eat something, shower, go back to work. And as you can imagine, you can only do that for so long until
Burnout.
something's going to give. I was
Yeah.
consuming a ton of caffeine, and it's just a very unhealthy way. But I mean, sometimes you have to do that if you want to get to where you're going. You have to make sacrifices. And I did that for a while, and in August, I finally said, "Listen, like, I gotta at least give this a shot." And I quit and never looked back. So, been very blessed to be fortunate to have a lot of business, and been able to, start a brokerage last year, and it's been amazing. The real estate business is something I never thought I'd be into, and I love it. I think it's the best. One of my mentors says it's the best small business opportunity in the world, and I have to agree.
Yeah, definitely. I agree as well. So when you first started, you were doing it part-time while you were working nights and on zero sleep. How
Yeah.
did you go about getting any business?
Well, because I worked at the casino, I had a pretty big sphere. Like, we're obviously not from here, so I don't have any family here. We don't have any connections here other than I worked at a casino. So I helped a lot of my coworkers buy and sell houses. And that's been almost essential to my growth. My first year, I did 8 or 9 deals, and I think 8 of them were from casino employees. Actually, I have a really funny story. So there was a lender that I used to use, and he helped me get all my casino employees pre-approved. And he tells me this story. He goes, one day, his boss pulled him in the office and goes, "Tom, I got to talk to you." And he's like, "What is this about?" He goes, "Do you have a gambling problem?" And Tom is like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "All these pre-approvals are coming from the casino. So you obviously are gambling and trying to get business to earn more money." And he's like, "No, one of my referral partners works at a casino, and he just sends all his business to me." I always thought that was hilarious. Like, the guy just goes to the worst possible scenario.
Yeah, exactly. Either that or money laundering, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. So that's how you started in the business. You were basically working your sphere, your coworkers. They got you out looking for homes for them. So you were basically helping people buy. You really didn't have any listings that first year.
No.
Okay. And what was the transition into the second year for you? Because that was still part-time. You went full-time in your third year, right?
Yeah. So the problem with real estate is it's really easy to treat it like a hobby. And I think that's a big problem for a lot of agents is they don't treat it like a business. And the best part about real estate is that you can treat it like a business, but you don't have a ton of overhead. Most of you real estate agents don't have to pay for an office. You don't have to, pay for employees. So you have a business without all of the ridiculous overhead that, like, if you're going to start a pizza shop, like, you have employees, you have ovens, you got to, either buy or rent a building. So I kind of treated it as a hobby. Like, I was like, yeah, that would be great if I could quit, but I'll never get to that point. Like, it was just limiting beliefs kept me down. And I had a bad habit of, if something was going wrong in my personal life, I would let it kind of, crush my business. I would, like, good example, we had my second year in the business, we found out we had mold in our house. And honestly, it should have been a phone call. "Hey, come remediate this mold. I have other crap to do."
Right.
And I let it affect my business for about 3 months. I was like, "Oh, we had to move into a hotel for a week and blah, blah, blah." Like, all this. Looking back now, I was like, wow, I'd wasted so much time. But I didn't take the business seriously. I didn't treat it like a business. It was a glorified hobby that occasionally, brought me a big commission check occasionally. So I didn't take it seriously enough. It wasn't until my third year, the year I quit the casino, that I really focused on it and kind of was like, okay, so once we get these people under contract, we have to work on what's next. Who is the next client we're going to help?
So how did you make that transition mentally and in actual reality? What was it that flipped the switch for you, and how did you go about actually doing it?
Well, if you look at I track all my numbers for every year, and if you look at 2016, it was a slow start. I was basically repeating the same things, just kind of not taking it seriously. And the market here was pretty good for sellers, but it's still pretty good for buyers, and it was helping a lot of buyers. In the summer of 2016, and I had 4 or 5 pending while working full time. And one of my mentors was like, you just need to quit. Like you're doing so much business that you just need to pull the plug. Like, and I always tell this to agents that I'm interviewing now that are like, I'm worried about quitting my job to go full time in real estate. And I'm like, listen, like whatever job you're working, unless it's like a super involved career and you've climbed up the ladder, is going to be there. Like I always ask them, I say, are you rich right now? And they say, no. I'm like, okay, so what happens if you take a risk for 1 year and you're still not rich? Like you're still in the same spot, but you took a risk and maybe you failed, you know? Me personally, if I would have focused, I could have quit the casino in 2015. So I have a year of my life that I'll never get back. So, but in 2016, I was kind of starting off slow, and then I had a couple of those pendings, and my mentor was like, you got to just quit. And I pulled the plug and I did it, and I just never looked back. And it's just, he always said, you know, just don't focus on the numbers, just continue to work and that business will come. And that's what I really did. I just put my head down and I worked. And in 2016, I sold 20 homes. 2017, I sold 58 homes. So it was just
Big growth.
yeah, it's big. I mean, tripling your business, it's nuts. But it's all comes down to just working. Like a lot of agents just in general stop working in the middle of November and they don't start working again until February. And then they wonder why their business is up and down and up and down. So
So, what does working look like for you? Because work ethic is very important, and consistency, as you said in this business,
yeah.
having your daily tasks. For me, I always start with the big goal for the year, break that down, eventually down into daily tasks that need to get done. So I don't have to think about this big, overwhelming goal. It's just these little things every day that you have to do. And if you do them, you get to that goal. So, what is it for you?
So honestly, I approached real estate a lot differently than most people. I know the value of a perfect daily schedule, but just being frank, I've never followed one in my entire life. I literally wrote one last night and I was like, I have to do this because I'm now other people are relying on me. But I never really searched for business. I was never a big prospector. Like last year, I had one expired and one for sale by owner that I helped. The rest of it was all came from open houses, my personal sphere, and then maybe 5 or 6 deals from internet leads. I did open houses a ton. I was trying to do at least one open house a week. That was a big help for my business. I think it's not so great in this market, right? Well, in 2018, the early part of 2018, open houses were tough because by the time you listed a house on Thursday, it was usually sold by the time you held the open house. And so that was frustrating. Now the market's shifting a little bit, and it's easier to hold open houses. I still think they're a great way to do business, and I think a lot of agents screw them up. Like they just don't do them well enough. And I mean, you can't hold an open house, put it in the MLS the day before, put one sign out, and hope that you're going to get business from it.
So, let's get into your open house strategy then. What is it that you do that brings you that success?
All right, so I've refined this over and over again. The big thing for me is first thing you have to do is you have to be intentional about your open houses. Like we have some listings that had popped back on the market because the deal fell apart, and I'm telling my agents now, like it's Friday, you can't hold an open house on Sunday. Like you can hold the open house next Sunday, but you don't have enough time. Like if you decide to hold an open house on Friday, you don't have enough time to get it ready by Sunday. So what I do is on Monday morning, I make sure it's in the MLS that we're going to have an open house Sunday 1 to 3. I make sure it's on Zillow because you actually have to manually put in your open houses on Zillow and Realtor.com. I create a Facebook event, and this is actually something I learned from one of my agents. Create a Facebook event and then sponsor it for whatever your reach is. So say your reach is 88,000 people, you're going to sponsor it for $8.80 a day. I learned that from Travis Tom with Elevated REM Marketing. It's such a great tip. So we're sponsoring an event post. We're trying to get people to respond and say they're going to come.
So I'm a little confused. I'm just going to cut in for a second.
Okay.
By sponsoring an event post, do you mean you're boosting the post?
No. So what you're going to do is you're going to go in your ads manager. You're going to create an ad. the goal of the ad is engagement, and then you click event responses, and you actually have to go into Facebook, create an event for that open house, and then you are basically sponsoring a post for that event.
Okay, and you're
Because
blasting that out to your geographic area,
yeah,
basically.
basically I'll pick the city and then go around 10 miles. And then, target it with, are they looking at Zillow.com? Are they looking at Credit Karma? Are they looking at, there's other targeting things. I mean, listen, we could do a whole podcast on just how to Facebook target.
Yeah.
Um, and then the reason why the events are so great and why this is such a great tip is that if you look on a Facebook event, it will remind you an hour before that, hey, you said you were interested or going to this event. So people who click on a Tuesday, they're going to get reminded at noon that, hey, there's this open house. And then they may be like, let's go check it out. To give you an example of a split test, we had 2 open houses at the same time. One of my agents boosted a post for that event. The other one did no advertising. We kind of did this as a litmus test. The one who did the boosted post had like 15 to 20 people through. The other one who did had like 1 or 2 people through. It was crazy, the difference. So we boost the event post. We make sure it's in the MLS, make sure it's on Zillow and Realtor.com. And then on either Thursday or Friday, I always hold my open houses from Sunday from 1 to 3. It's absolutely the best time. The only consideration you might take into is if you're in a big football city, where the Bears are huge here.
Right.
So I don't ever hold an open house during a Bears game. It's literally useless. So you have to be aware of when the Bears play or whatever football team is playing. A lot of the cities are huge college football towns. You got to be mindful of that. You have to be intentional about your business, or it's going to leave you in the dust. So open houses are from 1 to 3 on Sunday.
And is that the common time in your area, 1 to 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yes. And the reason I pick 1 to 3 is it's a short enough time where it's not my whole day. If we compare it to like doing a 12 to 4 open house, people naturally are going to go to the shorter time frame first because they don't want to miss it. So I like to be in and out. I don't get bored. It creates a flurry of activity. If you have a 4-hour open house, people are going to go whenever. 4 hours is a huge span of time when it is compared to 2 hours. I like my open houses to be busy the whole time because it creates excitement about the home. So on Friday, we'll put out signs, and our signs are very basic. They're 2 foot by 3 foot signs, so they're pretty big. They have a big arrow that says open house in it. It has our brokerage, the Lions Group, and has my phone number. And then on the bottom, it says Sunday 1 to 3. That's all it says. It doesn't say the address. They're just big directional signs. So I put those at the big intersections near the home. And then we have 18 by 24 signs, which are just a little bit smaller. We put a few of those out. And then we have the little yard signs. We'll put those out the day of. So we put those out 2 days before. So people are driving by and they see them and they say it's Sunday 1 to 3. They mentally say, you know what, I'm going to check that out, especially if they drive by it a lot. The day of the open house, I like to door knock 10 doors in each direction, so north, south, east, and west. And I do that around 11, and I invite them to a neighbors-only open house. Because everyone always hear, oh, you only get neighbors at the open house. Do you guys realize that neighbors have houses to sell too? Like, you need to be thinking that, like, everyone who's a property owner is someone you need to talk to. So we invite them to a neighbors-only open house, just from 12 to 1, and they get first access. And what they do is they say, hey, I see this guy putting out these signs. He's obviously trying to get more business. I want this for my listing when I go to sell. So if your open houses aren't bringing you more listings, you have to really look at what your open houses are doing or not doing. So we door knock around there, have the open house for 1 hour, and you may not get anybody for the neighbors only open house. That's fine. It's not a big deal. And then when the open house starts, you should have a decent amount of activity. I'm very low pressure. Just in general, I'm never a sales guy. Like, if you look on my Facebook, I've never asked for business in my entire life. I think I've asked one time is when I was quitting the casino. I was like, I need your guys' referrals now. But I don't ask for business. I mean, I just don't think it's just not my style. I mean, I hate when I go into a furniture store and I feel like the salesmen are cocked and ready, like ready to go, and like I just want to look at a couch. Like if I want to buy a couch, I'm going to make it very easy on you. I'm going to say I want this one. I'll pay full price. Like wrap it up. So I'm not high pressure at all. So and I still wanted to collect people's information, but I don't like the sign-in sheets. I don't like the sign-in with the iPad. What it does is people don't like it. They know what you're going to do. They know you're going to call them. And then when you have them sign in on an iPad, a lot of people aren't good with technology, especially technological things like an iPad that isn't their own. So it was creating this blockade. We had people come in and they just get backed up, waiting to sign in, and it seemed very selfish to me. Like these people are waiting. Maybe they're out in the cold. Maybe they're in between the door frame because I want their information. Like it just seemed very disingenuous. So I stopped doing that, and what we do now is we do a questionnaire, and the questionnaire is like says name, email address, phone number, and then but next to email address and phone number it says optional, and then it says it's just a questionnaire. It says top 3 features of the home, worst features of the home.
And this is after they've been through already.
No, I just handed it to it right when they walk in. So it's a clipboard with a pen attached and said, hey, can you just give us the feedback on this home? And what that does, it makes the customer involved in the process. Everyone loves talking about their opinion of the home. So it works a lot better for me to just give that to them. And sometimes we get no information, but at least now we have feedback to give to the seller.
Yes, I like that. It's a very good idea.
So, and I also always have a lender with me. And usually what we do on our most successful open houses, we usually just sit on the couch and say, listen, fill out this questionnaire. We're going to be here sitting on the couch. And if you have any questions, come up and ask us. I've literally had clients come up to me and go, thank you for not forcing us to sign in. Like, do you realize, like, if someone's thanking you, that means there's a problem for the other open houses they're going to. The consumer is smarter now in 2018 than they were in 2005. You know, it didn't matter what you were doing in 2005. If you had a pulse, you were going to sell a house. So consumers they're not stupid, you know, and they know that if you're signing in, you're going to call them. So they put down, you know, Don Draper, 555-1212, and then you have, it's just, this business is 100% about building relationships. So, you know, you're never going to trick someone into buying a house from you. It's just not, it's never going to happen.
But if you don't get their information, it's not going to happen either. So how is it that you are getting their information?
You know, if you don't get their information, if someone doesn't want to give you their information, they're not going to want to work with you. I just don't and I know that a lot of people don't agree with me. Like, you have to get their information. What's the point of the open house? If I do an open house and I get 10 couples through and no one gives me their information, but they all give me feedback on the home, I'm still happy. You know, I'm almost to the point where I'll do an open house and I won't even have anything for them to fill out. I'll just have, you know, a high quality color flyer of the house with my information on it. I'm at the point now where I have enough business there where I want to attract clients, not chase them. I don't have the time or the temperament to chase clients. And I know that's different for a lot of agents. Like, the brand new agent, you are going to have to chase the clients at least a little bit. But for me, I can't do it anymore. You know, I just don't, I just don't have the temperament to do it.
Okay, so how is it that they're coming around and contacting you? Because you say open houses is a source of business for you.
Yeah.
How does it become a source of business for you?
I feel like if you just come from a place of giving value to people, they'll reach out to you, you know? And it may take a little while, but if someone calls you from an open house that you did, that is going to be a way better quality lead than the inverse, which is you called them from an open house. So another thing that I do on the open house is if I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home that's priced at, say, $150, if I'm doing that open house, I am going to be an expert in that 5 mile radius. I'm going to know every 3-bedroom home in that 5 mile radius because I am trying to set an appointment right after the open house. So say somebody comes in and I can tell they're not into this house. And I say, well, did you see, 123 Banana Street on the next street over? And they go, no, I haven't seen it. And in my head, I know it's vacant. I'm like, I can meet you there at 3:30. And that, everyone always thinks this is weird. But to me, real estate is a lot like dating. And I don't know if you've ever studied dating, but if you are on a date and you take someone to a different location, in their head, that relationship has progressed further than the time they've spent together. So if you say, I meet you at this one house and then say at 3:30 we can go to this house on 123 Banana Street, they're already like, wow, he's working. And then subconsciously, you're building a rapport with them and they see that you're, intentional about it. You know the market, you know what's available. Just doing that, just knowing what's available and what you can get into, that can change your business.
So one of the methods that I've used at open houses is I've done something similar, but I've actually printed out like a little thumbnail of all the available similar homes in the area, and I'll have just the one sheet for them to review. And have you seen any of these houses? And then try to book something in that respect. That way, I'm providing them some value in the sense that I have the knowledge. They can't take it with them because it's for everybody. But if you like, I can send it to you, or we can go and set up an appointment for one of these homes.
See, here's the thing. Like, I would like doing that, but I would give it to them. I'd make a high color printout and just give it to them and have my information at the bottom, because a lot of these people aren't thinking of, oh, well, I'm going to call my buddy who's a realtor. They're going to say, I'm going to call this guy who's out here working, who obviously knows what the comps are, and I get your point. You want to.
I've done it both ways, by the way. Yeah. I've done both, and I've settled on just doing it this way. Number one, honestly, just for convenience for myself, rather than printing off a bunch of sheets and handing them out.
Yeah. The thing about open houses is that you're going to get a lot of agents who say, oh, open houses don't work to sell that house. And to me, it's total BS. They absolutely do work to sell that house. I double-ended like 4 or 5 of my own listings last year through open houses. So those agents that say they don't work to sell the house, they don't know how to do open houses. They're not doing them effectively. The perfect house for me to hold on an open house is a house that I think is better than we can display it online. And we use professional photos for all of our homes, but sometimes you get in a home and there's features about it that you just cannot convey through Zillow, and those are the homes that are awesome to do open houses on.
Fantastic. So you get some business from open houses, you're very laid back, and you let it sort of come to you just through building relationships with people that come through the door, through casual conversation, showing some value.
Customer service is 100% that's our business. And if you don't think you're in the customer service business, you need to find something else to do. Be a transaction coordinator if you want. But you're 100% in the customer service business. The customer experience to me is paramount. And I'm always that is my one focus. How can we make our agents better? And how can we make the customer experience better? If you focus on those two things, if you're a brokerage owner, if you just focus on the customer experience and you're not even a good real estate agent, there's so many good real estate agents who have awful customer service, but they're not as successful as the ones who are average real estate agents who have great customer service. If you and the goal is to treat the customer like they're your only customer, and that's really it. Treat them like you never want to say, oh, I'm so busy. And we are busy. Let's face it, we are busy. I average, 5 to 10 pendings at one time. I'm busy. I have 3 kids. I run a business. I have 9 agents. I'm busy. You can't tell me that I'm not busy, but I'm never, ever telling a client I'm too busy to handle that. That's the last thing you ever want to say. They don't care how busy you are. And another thing to that effect is they don't care about you. And you have to realize that. I learned that as a poker dealer. Nobody cares about Jeff, the poker dealer. They only care if you screw up. You know, you're not the star of the show. They are. Once you make your clients the star of the show, your business will absolutely transform. My business cards, they don't have my picture on it. My signs, they don't have my picture on it. Like the only time you're going to see me is on Facebook. And that's not because I'm ugly. I'm very handsome.
For those of you not listening to the podcast but watching it on YouTube, you can see for yourself.
Yeah. And I even tell my female agents, I have mostly female agents. I have 7 female agents. And I said, listen, like, this is not about you. Like, and even from a safety standpoint, you don't want the client that's there because you're pretty. Like, that's the worst client you have, because they're not focused on it. You want the client that wants to work with you because you're the expert. You're the best in this market. You're the best negotiator. You give the best customer service.
So let's touch on that for a minute. We're talking about a customer focused experience overall, which I believe in wholeheartedly. So how do you provide that to the customer? Maybe from, let's say they come in through an open house, they call you back a day later saying, hey, it was good to meet you, but I'm interested in such and such a house. Will you come and show it to us? Is that pretty typical? How they might approach it?
Yeah. So when I was just a solo agent, it would be like, I would say, when do you want to see it? And then I would just make it work. I've refined that to, hey, I'm available this time and this time. And that's better. Most of the clients can make that work. My goal is to get them into that house as soon as possible. We are a very ADD society. Our average attention span is now 4 seconds. So if you're not setting the appointment right away, they're going to go to somebody else.
You're setting the appointment for the showing. You're not trying to get them into the office to go through like a buyer presentation or something along those lines.
And I get that works for some people, but I just know how disloyal people are. So and I get it. Like, some people are like, I won't take anybody out unless they're pre-approved. I won't take anybody out unless we have a 30-minute buyer consultation. You know how many deals you're losing because of that? Like, honestly. And I get it. Like, I'm not advocating go show them 10 houses over 3 days before they're pre-approved. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they are not focused on their pre-approval. They are focused on, let's go see this house because it looks great. So here's my buyer script. Hey, I got your request about 123 Banana Street. I just got a few quick questions. I know you're probably interested in going to see it. Are you working with an agent? If they say no, I say, great. If they say yes, I say, okay, are you happy with the agent? And if they say yes, I say, it's probably best you contact your agent. If they say no, I ask why. Because I think a lot of times agents are like, yeah, they said they weren't happy with their agent. But if you dig a little deeper, it's usually because they're insane and they have unrealistic expectations of what the client-agent relationship should look like.
And that conversation will flow differently because some people in some areas are allowed to say these things and other people in other areas are not allowed to say these things depending on regulations of boards. But yeah, go ahead.
And then if they say they have an agent that they're unhappy with, I ask them, have you signed anything? Buyer agency agreements are not common in this area at all. Nobody uses them. I want to use them, but I know that I'm not going to use them because for one reason, and people are going to crucify me for this. If I'm the only guy that uses them, everyone knows 10 realtors, and they're going to be like, this guy made me sign something to buy a house with them. Well, my agent didn't do that. My agent's way better. I don't want to be known as the only guy who uses buyer agency agreements. And, people are going to kill me for that, and that's fine. I've never had a buyer agency agreement signed. I don't care if they're pre-approved before we go see a home. And what I'm saying about that is it goes back to the relationship thing. They want to see this home. I want to be there for them. So let's talk about the worst case scenario. They call me, they want to see this home. I go see a home with them and they have a 0 credit score. There's no chance they could buy anytime soon. Okay, what did that cost me? It cost me maybe 30 minutes of my time, and I got to see an active comp on the market. You need to stop looking at it as my time is super valuable. I'm $300 an hour and I won't do anything that isn't a dollar producing activity. Okay, fine. If that's how you want to run your business, fine. I hope you sold more than 58 homes last year because this is how I do it. You're trying to build relationships. So say their credit score is 550, okay? Get them to your credit repair person. In 3 months or 4 months, they'll be able to buy. Do you know how loyal they will be to you if you took the time to meet them at a home, discuss their credit problems, hook them up with a credit repair person, got their scores from 550 to 640, and then they're able to buy? They're going to be screaming your name from the rooftops. So my goal whenever I have a client is I want them to have such a good experience that if any of their friends talk about buying or selling a house, they grab them by the shoulders and say, you have to call Jeff. It's literally the only thing you do. You have to call Jeff. Here's his number right now. You know?
So beyond the showing aspects of it, what is it that you do to create that exceptional client experience so that they do that?
You know, it's going to sound very bare bones, but being available, listening to what they want, and only showing them what they want. I mean, we are tied to our compensation is directly related to the amount, the dollar amount of a home that people buy. And if you forget about that, your business will go way beyond that. Zig Ziglar said, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll always get what you want. And I tell myself that every morning because it's so true. Like me, I don't look at a buyer agency compensation on a home at all until I write the offer. I don't care. You pay me 2%, you pay me 7%. It doesn't matter to me, you know? And I know that I'm fortunate enough to have enough business to where I don't care what I get paid, you know? And I'm not saying you shouldn't get paid what you're worth. But it really doesn't matter in the long run. I mean, go back, give me 10 deals you did last year and tell me what the commission was. You can't do it. It doesn't matter in the long run. It matters is you got your clients into the house that they wanted and you did a good job. They say the number one problem with agents is their lack of communication. I always cringe whenever a seller or a buyer of mine texts me first about an issue. If I had no idea of it and there's no way I could, stay above it, that's fine. But if it was something that I said I would get back to them and they text me first, I'm always like, oh God, I dropped the ball here. Always under promise and over deliver. I think agents are so worried about, I have to get this to them right now. And there's certain things that are very time sensitive, but most of these deals, you have 45 days and the world's going to keep spinning if you don't get that inspection response done right away. You have to set clear expectations with your clients when you meet them. And
how is that done? If you're not sitting in a let's call it a formal situation, just through conversation when you're walking through the house, you're saying, and by the way.
Yeah. And just let them know, like, this is how I work. This is how I operate. I work 6 days a week all the time. So I don't have that problem of not being available. I'm always available. When I first meet them, I say, listen, if we're going to work together, if you call me, I will call you back. If I don't answer right away, I will call you back within that day. That's my promise to you. If you text me, I'll answer as soon as I possibly can. You just have to make them your focus. This is not rocket science. There's not some magic potion. I'm available. I communicate. I set expectations, and I educate them about the process. See, I think that a lot of agents get to the point where they think that everybody knows how this works. Oh yeah, of course the appraiser is going to know. Like if you think about what a transaction is you go out, you find a bunch of houses, you find what that you like, you write an offer. The offer is very confusing to everybody. I mean, how many agents do you know that don't really understand what is going into an offer? I mean, there's tons of them. Okay, so if it's confusing to you, a real estate professional, it's definitely confusing to your clients. So let's go through the offer with them and explain every step. That right there is the way to go. Just explain every step to them because they don't know. They don't know what's next. So once I get them under contract, and this is a buyer, the next thing I do is I send them an email, and it's called the next steps email. It says, here's what we need to do next. We need to deliver earnest money It's $1,000. It goes to ABC Realty. They're located right here. We need to drop this off within at least 2 days. Okay. I don't handle earnest money. A, because it's a time waster, and B, because I don't want to handle their money. And a lot of agents may kill me for that. Indiana's a little bit differently. You guys are going to flip out when I tell you about inspections. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to handle their money, and I don't want to drop it off, you know. So we have them drop it off, and then I said the next thing we need to do is schedule an inspection. And I give them my top 3 inspectors in order, and I have them schedule an inspection. Here's where you guys are going to kill me. We don't go to inspections in Indiana. And a lot of agents around the country lose their mind when I tell them that. They're like, you don't go to inspection.
The agent themselves, or the agent or the client?
Clients go to the inspection. They don't have to, but buyers agents do not go to inspections in Indiana.
So inspectors are allowed access to the property?
Yeah.
Okay.
We use the central lock boxes, and all the agents and all the inspectors and the appraisers have access. They have either a card or the app that opens the box. It's crazy to me that I posted this the other day, and people are like, you don't go to the inspection? And I was like, why would I? Like, it doesn't, and it sounds so selfish. It doesn't make me any money. Like, it's just waste of my time. I would lose my mind if I had to go to every inspection. I didn't go to my own home inspection. I didn't. I was still working at the casino. I was on like 4 hours of sleep. I said, you can handle it. You know, when you trust your inspector, there's no reason for you to go to the inspection. So you guys should all find out if you have to go to the inspection, and if you don't go. Because
that depends on your market. For example, in my market, you can't just send an inspector. An agent has to give access to the property.
But here's the thing, like, be honest about this. It doesn't make you any money, and it's a liability factor.
How is it a liability factor?
So say you notice something that the inspector doesn't notice.
Okay.
And then it comes back, and it says, oh, Lorne, you saw that water heater was leaking. And this is an extreme example.
So during the showing, you mean I may have mentioned something? Well, usually if that happens, to be honest, I would point that out and say, what do you think about this? I noticed that. And then, so that wouldn't really happen.
But what happens if you didn't point it out? And this is a very extreme example, and it's just play devil's advocate with me. Like, that could be a liability. So the way I handle inspections is I give them to a trusted inspector that I trust 100%. And then when I get the inspection response, what I'll do is I'll write down the things that I would ask if I was buying this house. And then I call them up and say, hey, how does this look for you? Is there anything you want to take away or add or change? And then it's fine. I mean, it's crazy, like, to me, how different markets can be. And Indiana,
definitely.
Weird. And I'm not saying that in 2 years they're going to be like, yeah, of course you guys need to attend inspections, and then I'll have to change. But I really hope that doesn't ever happen.
Well, listen, I completely understand that when you're sitting there for over 2 hours, sometimes depending on the size of the house or the property, it can definitely feel like a waste of time. However, I'll play devil's advocate and I'll say, isn't that another opportunity for you to strengthen your relationship with your customer and your client when you're there, and the relationship that you have with your inspector?
Absolutely. So. My inspector is, we have a really good relationship. So, but like, what are we going to talk about for 2 hours? You know? And I get it. Like, you have to go. I don't have to go.
Yeah.
I feel like if you didn't have to go, you would be like,
yeah, if definitely. And a lot of people send, their quote unquote junior agents and on teams will send them along. But it is always helpful to have somebody working on the deal to have eyes on whatever issues come up, rather than just a description or a picture.
Yeah, and that's, listen, I have a great relationship with my inspector, so I don't have those issues.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's move on from that, really, because
yeah, and it's really not relevant to what I'm talking about. So after the inspection, I basically set the expectation that, listen, like, we've talked a bunch pretty much every day for the last, however many months or weeks leading up to this. Now the transaction kind of goes up in the air. I say, we're going to have an appraisal next, explain what an appraisal is, and then it's going to go to underwriting. We're basically going to chill out for 30 days while this thing gets clear to close. Because if you don't, what happens? The client's like, I don't even know what's going on. I haven't heard from my agent in 2 weeks. Like, think about it like a doctor's office. How much better would a doctor's office visit be if the person at the front goes, hey, fill this out. It's going to be about 15 minutes till the doctor brings you back. When you go, you're going to be in there about 20, 30 minutes, and then we're going to have you out of here. How much better would that experience be than fill this out?
Yeah, and not knowing what's happening. So you're setting
So
the expectations so they
always,
understand what's happening.
everything in life is about setting expectations.
So that's been a common theme, which is great. Definitely you set expectations in every part of the process so people understand what's going on. You are the guide guiding them through, and there's no surprises.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Now I have a question for you. In terms of after the transaction, is there anything that you do to stay in touch with your clients to maybe generate referrals? Not saying give me referrals, but some people send birthday cards, some people send anniversary to the home, things like that of that nature. Is there anything that you do that's proactive?
So last year, what I did was every single buyer, I gave them a half dozen donuts from a local cider mill. And I did this in October when cider mills are super popular around here. And we have one that was, everyone loved, and everyone loves the donuts from it. And I was going to do pumpkins, and my wife was like, nobody wants a pumpkin. Like, nobody wants a pumpkin. And I see these pop buys, and they give a bottle of hand sanitizer, and they're like, let's do a clean deal. Call Lisa. And I'm just like, what? Like, nobody wants a bottle of hand sanitizer. But everybody loves donuts. So I gave them donuts and had a little postcard that says, please remember to file your exemptions. We have a homestead and mortgage exemption here. It's super important. Your taxes are going to double if you don't do it. I'm always looking for authentic ways to reach out to my sphere and past clients. So I did that. This year, I literally ran out of time. I was going to do donuts, but what I did was I ordered sweatshirts, and I give some of those to my best clients. I'm always refining this process. I think that one of the things we're going to do moving forward is we're going to do a newsletter every month, and it's going to be front and back page, high color, high quality color newsletter. It's not going to be about the Lions Group is so great, everyone should use this, blah, blah, blah. Here's our 10 listings, because that's going to get thrown away. It's going to have, one of the things we're going to do is a feel-good story from the area that we live, a coupon to a local place, and a little bit of write-up about a local place. We have tons of really great coffee shops, stuff like that. And then maybe we're going to feature one of our agents and just talk about their life. It's, like I said, it's not very salesy. It's not use this if you're buying or selling. It's very much like, if we can help you, let us help you. That's very much my mantra.
It's just a bit of mind share to keep you on top of their mind every month, just to know you're still alive, you're still there for them.
Yeah, I do a ton of social media. I'm very active on Facebook, very active on Instagram. Everybody knows I'm a real estate agent. But it's not like I said, it's not gimme. Like, I'm just like yesterday I posted a client that I literally have helped for 4 years. We've probably seen 100 plus homes at one home a time. And he finally closed on his property yesterday. And I just thanked him for being so loyal to me. And I posted a picture of him and his parents, and that's it. I mean, I don't post every closing. Like, people are going to get so annoyed with that. Yeah. If all you're posting is your closings and your listings, people are going to unfollow you so fast. People care about your life. They want to see you share something funny, share a picture of your kids, share a picture of your dog. Like, that's what people go on Facebook for. They don't go on Facebook to get sold.
Yeah, I've heard it said that business-related posts versus personal posts, the ratio should be about, I think, anywhere between 4 to 8 to 1. So 4 personal posts to 1 business-related post.
And even on our business Facebook page, I'm doing stuff like we posted last week for Thanksgiving, which one has to go, and it was a picture of like turkey, cranberry sauce, mashed potatoes, gravy, stuff like that. And that's the stuff that gets engagement, and it's fun. It's not, oh, here's my new listing. Like, nobody cares. Like, people move every 10 years. Like, they're not thinking about it all the time.
And let me ask you, is this on a personal page or on a business page?
So what I do is I post it to the business page, and I share it to my personal page.
Right.
So I'm getting engagement on both sides. I'll get engagement from the people on the business page, and then I'll get way more engagement on my personal page, because It's just my personal page.
Fantastic.
So that's what I do. I'm very, like I said, I'm 95% low pressure, and then the 5% when I need to be, I can be high pressure. But I'm only high pressure when, like, I know that I'm the best option for them, and I know that we need to move things along. Because a lot of times if you're low pressure all the time, you're just going to go in circles. You're just going to, like, you're never going to get the deal closed. You're never going to move forward with a new agent. You're never going to get that listing signed. You have to be like, sometimes you have to be like, if all this is I presented to you is true, why are we not signing today?
Now, let me ask you regarding that. Something just popped in my mind regarding listing presentations. Do you have a listing presentation that you use that is formatted? What is the format, or do you just kind of go off the cuff?
No, I think listing presentations that are formatted are really good for going in the circular file. Nobody reads them. Nobody. I mean, you can have a 15-page listing presentation, amazing full color graphics, and no one is reading it. It's so boring.
You mean in terms of a pre-listing package?
No, I'm talking about like I come and I'm going to give you a binder of information about your home. I looked at one that another client had when I went to list her house. I was like, did you read it? She goes, no, I didn't read it. Like, and she's one of those people. She was a reader. Like, she likes that stuff. She didn't read it.
Okay, so that's more for leave behinds. That's definitely something to talk about. But in terms of the actual presentation itself, do you have something that you present?
So I have a framework of, like, in my head, but like if you're like talking about like a PowerPoint where I go over things, absolutely not.
Okay.
No, I have a pre-listing package that I will send to people, but it was more like just using it as a lead capture. Like I talk about how homes are bought and sold, but I mean, I don't know. It's weird because a lot of times I'll go on an appointment with, a hoodie and jeans, and that's just what I wear all the time. And people kind of look at me like, does this guy know what he's doing? And then once we talk, it's very apparent that I know what I'm doing. I have the track record. I don't ever talk about my track record because, once again, the client doesn't care about your track record. They want to make sure you're not an idiot, but you should be able to convey that you're not an idiot by talking to them.
So what I'm getting here is you're being authentic to yourself. This is who you are. You're not going to pretend to be somebody else. You're going to come in dressed the way that you are, speaking the way that you are, and you're going to either get the client or not get the client based on that. And you don't really want to work with those clients that aren't going to get you anyway, because there's usually a rub there.
And I say this with a grain of salt to all, like, the brand new agents. Brand new agent, you show up in an appointment on a t-shirt and jeans, it's probably not going to go great for you if you don't know what you're talking about. I only work with past clients and referrals. So I'm in a different spot than everybody else. If you're referred to me, in my mind, I already have the appointment. Like, I already have a listing. I don't ever go on a listing appointment where I don't bring a lockbox. I don't bring paperwork. I may leave it in the car. I may leave it in the car. If the worst thing that has to happen is I have to go back out to the car to get it, that's not a bad thing. So I'm not saying that everyone should show up in, sweatpants and a hoodie. If you're brand new in the business, you should dress up. I mean, and I'm not saying I never dress up. Like, I'm wearing a nice sweater to a closing that I have today because that's what the client would want. You know what I mean?
Know your audience.
Yeah, know your audience.
Okay.
You should always be focused on who your client is. Most of my clients have small kids. We listen to the same music. We have the same background. They're going through the same stuff that I'm going through. So it's very relatable that I show up in a sweatshirt and jeans. This client, she's older. She lost her husband last year. It's a totally different approach.
Gotcha.
So framing yourself to your client, I think it's essential. Like a lot of the stuff, like, you can learn from How to Win Friends and Influence People. Read that book. If you haven't read that book, in Think and Grow Rich, like, get your life together. Like, if you're listening to this,
get your life together.
If you're listening to this and you haven't listened to Think and Grow Rich or How to Win Friends and Influence People, you're doing it backwards. You're giving it a lot of great advice, but the foundation are in those two books.
Definitely. I remember reading those books when I was a teenager because everyone was sort of pumping that out. Now that's a little weird, I guess. But I found that, and they were definitely influential for me.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, because we got to start to wrap up. Uh,
Yeah, we're a little long-winded, huh?
no, that's okay.
I could,
That's
dude.
okay.
I genuinely love real estate so much. I could talk about this. Like, we can literally talk all day about this stuff.
Here's the great thing about this podcast and real estate in general, and I say this quite often, is that you can do this business just about any way and be successful.
Absolutely.
But that's the worst and best part of this business, because you really have to find what works for you, and you can't do a million things all at the same time. But eventually, when you find your groove, you can be successful doing this business just about any way, and you're proof of that. You're fairly laid back in how you do things, you're authentic, and that may not work for a lot of other people. Not the authentic part, I hope, but the laid back approach. And that may not work for a lot of other people because of their market or who they are or their particular situation. But it works for you, and that will relate to other people out there, and that's fantastic.
But does it not work? Like, you say that it may not work in certain markets. Like, okay, like, I bet that you can get amazing clients in Miami if you show up in t-shirt and jeans. It may not be every client.
Yeah,
And
well, it's not just the t-shirt and jeans; it's the whole approach that you take, which I think is great. But I mean, you're not, you're very laid back about open houses. I mean, it's not setting up the open house, but in terms of collecting, people's information, let's say, and following up, that type of thing.
Following up, I'm very intentional.
If they get
Yeah.
in touch with you first, right? You're waiting for them to reach out to you, which is great, and we're not arguing about this as a good or bad thing. But you're waiting for them to reach out to you, and you have that charisma and vibe and reputation so that they do that. But for people that are new in the industry, that may not happen so automatically. I know for myself, it didn't happen that way. I mean, I'm not saying it never happened, but I really had to go after the business to make the business work.
Oh, and I did too. Listen, my first 2 years, button-down shirt, busting my ass all the time, chasing business like crazy. But I realized, like, I don't want to live that life for my whole life.
Yeah. Once you build it to a certain point, your business gains a type of momentum, and you realize you have some people call it pillars, some people call it buckets, but sources of business. And you just go after those maybe 2 or 3 sources. If you want to grow at a certain point and it caps off, you add a source a year, however you approach it. But you find your vibe and what works for you.
Like me, I won't door knock anymore. I hate it. I can't stand it. I've done it. I'll tell my agents, like, listen, it works, but if you hate it, don't do it. Like, I personally, I'm good at calling expireds. I'm good at calling for sale by owners, but I hate doing it. Like, it crushes my soul. And the problem is that there's so many people who are like, I don't care, just do it. Just psych yourself up. Like, no, dude, it's just not. It's not who I am. And
but you have to try it to find out if it is who you are. Nothing's going to be comfortable from the outset. I shouldn't say nothing, but very few things are comfortable from the beginning. You have to give it a little bit of a go. And then if you realize really it's not in line with who you are, then you can move on to something else. That's how I feel about it anyway.
And like you said earlier, there's so many ways to skin a cat in this business. My business is not the same as the guy in the next office. And that's what's great about it. Like, I'm successful, he's successful. Once you have the idea and the mindset that there's enough business for everybody, it becomes a lot simpler.
Oh, I agree. And that's what I love about this show in particular. It's about sharing. You're sharing with everybody. Not everybody's going to take what you're doing and try to copy it. And even if they tried to copy you 100%, it would never come across the same way anyway.
You know what Tim Ferriss says? Tim Ferriss was always criticized because he gives away all of his information. And what he said was, listen, 80% of those people are going to do nothing with it. Literally just never, they'll say, yeah, I'm going to do that. And it never happens, okay? So we get the 15% who do it, and they're not as good as Tim. And there's going to be a small percentage that do it and is just as good as Tim. But there's going to be like 4 or 5% that do it and are better than him. You know what those 4 or 5% are going to do? They're going to say, Tim, this is what I did, and this is how I made it better. You can't ever lose by giving value to other real estate agents or other people. Like, you're never losing.
I agree.
You're just, and it's going to take a lot of people a lot of time to realize that. And it took me 30 years to realize that. But I just give and give and give and give. And I don't care if it ever comes back to me, because I know that I've given so much that it will come back to me. And that's just how I live, and it's A lot of it sounds like foo-foo, rah-rah BS. And I'm not that guy. I'm super positive. I won't deal with anybody who's negative in my life. But I'm not going to be like, hey, agents, let's get up and let's clap. Like, I don't have any patience for that stuff. But there's no reason to be negative in this world. Like, the world is amazing. And I don't watch the news. I stay up on real estate trends. But, dude, the news is emotionally, it's a killer.
It's draining.
Always negative.
Yeah.
And one of the best things I ever heard was, he goes, okay, you watch the news all the time? Tell me what the biggest news story of October last year was. You can't do it. I mean, and people always say, well, what happens if something like September 11th happens? How can you operate without knowing about September 11th? It's everywhere. You're going to know about the major news stories when they happen, but you're just beating yourself up with this negative talk all the time, and it doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't help you in your business. It doesn't help you in your personal life. It's just, I don't have any patience for the news. I don't have any patience for negative people. I don't, if you look on my Facebook, I never post anything negative. And that's hard. Like, it's a conscious decision. Like, I'm not going to post anything negative because negative talk, it seeps into your head and it expels itself in other ways in your life.
Yeah, I hear that. Listen, Jeff, we got to close up, but thank you so much for sharing, for opening up yourself and your business to all the listeners and to me. Really appreciate it. Yeah. Any closing thoughts on people that are new in the business or maybe stuck in a rut? Maybe a book suggestion other than the ones that we already gave, or something you want to share?
So one of the best books that I've read is a book called The 12-Week Year. And what it does is it basically boils down all of your goals. We all set yearly goals, especially with January coming up, and we want to sell 50 homes. And the problem with that is that a year is a long time. So, you may start out really great in January, and in February you kind of fizzle out, and then you're like, oh, it's fine. I still have 10 more months left of the year. But the problem is February keeps going, and then it goes into March, and you're like, oh, I still have time. And then it's December, and you didn't hit your 50 homes. So 12-week year, what it does is it boils down a year into 12 weeks. You set actionable goals, and every week is now a month. It sounds really basic, and honestly, the book is probably twice as long as it needs to be. It could honestly be boiled down to like a 5-page PDF, but it's a quick read. It's great for setting goals, especially this time of year. And if you can get so much done just by reading that book and applying the lessons in it. Closing thoughts. What do I have in closing thoughts? And honestly, just stay positive. Give value to all your clients. The clients that you do have, make sure that you're, doing your best to keep that relationship good and make sure that you're top of mind. But do it in a low pressure way. I mean, it's 2018 and people are going to use you because they know, like, and trust you. And that's really what it boils down to. You don't have to worry about, the next silver bullet in real estate, worry that Zillow is going to take over all of our jobs. It's never going to happen. We are not travel agents. We are real estate agents. And one of the things I always tell my agents when problems happen, because problems happen in every transaction. When's the last transaction you had that went perfect from start to finish?
Yeah.
I've never had one. And I tell my agents when they're really upset about problems, I say, listen, if there's no problems, there's no need for you. And it kind of brings everything down like, oh, I'm here to help solve these problems. So
be a problem solver. Fantastic.
That's really it.
Excellent. All right, Jeff, remind everybody your market in case anyone wants to throw you some referrals, and how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I'm in Northwest Indiana. I basically cover the top 3 counties. Best way to get a hold of me is through my cell phone, which is 219-218-1181. If you have any questions about anything that we talked about, just give me a call. I mean, I'd love to talk, like I said to Lorne, I love to talk about real estate all the time. I love to help new agents. If you're thinking about opening up your own brokerage, I'd love to talk to you about that. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Excellent. And website?
www.thelionsgroupllc.com. And Lions is spelled Lyons.
Fantastic. Jeff, again, thank you so much for sharing. Look forward to talking to you again.
Awesome. Take it easy.
Take care.